Yesterday, Kenyan Gen Zs held a topmost state protest to protest for justice for none other than Albert Ojwang. Well, during this protest, several goons were deployed in the streets of Nairobi, and also police officers were there seen escorting goons who were there to vandalize and attack peaceful protesters who were protesting in the streets of Nairobi. In this video, the collaboration between the goons and the police officers is what we want to speak about, which led to shooting of one Nairobi resident. Ladies and gentlemen, before I deep dive into this video, don't forget to like this video, comment, and most importantly, just subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if by any chance you are watching us from a different platform, kindly head over to YouTube, search for Creative Sellers TV. If politics, war, and documentaries, not forgetting sports, is what you are passionate about, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, in solidarity, Kenyan Gen Zs and online users walk and march to the streets just to lament and call for justice for the fallen soldiers who fall during last year reject finance bill protests. Ladies and gentlemen, during this protest, several police officers were deployed in the streets, and not forgetting that also several goons were also deployed in the streets of Nairobi, who complained that they were there just to protect people's property. Well, here is the tape of them.
Street ni yetu na cheki, hatutaki watu wanaharibu street, sawa? Hatutaki watu wanaharibu street yetu penye si ushinde, unacheki? Ndio maana sisi tuko pande ya Masanze, tunapeleka wale wasikuje waharibu area yetu.
Hizi rungu mmepewa?
Hizi rungu, ni zetu tumeziokota huko Roe. Na kuchunga hawa watu.
Well, and again ask myself, where did Sakaja get the audacity and orders to deploy goons in Nairobi to help in combating these protesters? Ladies and gentlemen, I then came up to a conclusion that none other than Farouk Kibet is the person who gave orders to none other than Johnson Sakaja to deploy goons in these streets just to counterattack on people who will be protesting. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Farouk Kibet lecturing on none other than Sakaja.
Sasa Sakaja, wewe unapenda sheria, wewe umekuja hapa, sisi tunakutuma kwamba Nairobi.
After Farouk Kibet lectured Sakaja, here is Sakaja saying and promising people of Nairobi a day before protest that he will be there to protect their companies.
Last week walinipata unawares, warudi tena, wajaribu tena. We will protect the city, the capital city. Wasijaribu, yani si wanasema kuna siku wanakuja wajaribu kukusa mali ya mtu yoyote.
Sasa Sakaja, wewe unapenda sheria, wewe umekuja hapa, sisi tunakutuma kwamba Nairobi ibaki salama.
There's a clip that I created saying that none other than Gaucho was paid with unknown politician just to make sure that he will deploy goons in the streets of Nairobi. These goons, well, ladies and gentlemen, these goons were now deployed in the streets of Nairobi. After deploying them, what were the repercussions or results of these goons staying in these streets? Well, several goons were arrested with citizens, and you know very well that if citizens arrest you, what they always do for you is like this one. Well, after this guy received a beating of his life, he said that they were paid 1,000 per head to make sure that, you know what, they were there in the streets just to counterattack and influence and put the negative influence to people of Kenyans who are in the streets. Ladies, these groups that were also sponsored with none other than Johnson Sakaja to remove the streets of Nairobi also ended up breaking into people's shop, and just imagine, they were looting laptops, phones, several things were being looted in these shops. The shops that they said that they were going to protect. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the tape. Well, also, a goon is a goon, and truth be said, is that these goons, instead of again protecting these people in the streets, they ended up they ended up snatching phones, destroying journalist camera, and doing what they know best, touching cars and vandalizing properties in the streets of Nairobi just to paint the bad image to peaceful protesters who are protesting in the streets of Nairobi, lamenting justice for their fallen soldiers who have lost their lives. Well, ladies and gentlemen, after following throughout all these protests and all these dramas that were in Nairobi, I later asked myself, did Sakaja really know the repercussions of him deploying goons to the streets of Nairobi in what they promised him that they are going to protect? Instead of protecting, they ended up vandalizing several properties and in fact, leading to shooting of one of none other than Joshua, a mask seller in Nairobi. And ladies and gentlemen, I ask myself, is selling a mask in the street of Nairobi a crime? Huh? Well, ladies and gentlemen, by Sakaja deploying these goons to streets of Nairobi, I think that this one just shows that he was terrified. And coming 2027, I'm not seeing Sakaja revisiting the seat that he is in right now. Because instead of being with the people of Nairobi, he ended up deploying goons who ended up vandalizing the properties that were not even vandalized before. Onazi Livamio, huh? Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on the comment section. What do you take? How do you take this Sakaja's message of sending goons in the streets of Nairobi, lamenting that they are there just to protect people from the vandalizing good? At last,